Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew talks all things Commander. And this week, we are talking bracket updates, I guess. This past week, Wizards did an article, did a big stream with a bunch of changes to Commander and also a bunch of questions for the community about potential changes that they're thinking about making and want feedback on. So today, we're going to delve into that. We're going to share our opinions and get into this big announcement. But before we do, we got a crew to introduce. Kicking things off with Tomer. Tomer, I know you've already been out there hot off the presses talking about this stuff. So I'm excited to hear more of your opinions on all of it.
Yeah, I did 2 videos. One was like first impressions when the thing just came out, like minutes after the live stream ended. I did a thing, and then more recently I did a thing talking about hybrid. But there's always more things to talk about, and also I want to hear about you guys because obviously everybody has different perspectives, and it's just like interesting to hear different sides.
That's the fun of the podcast, right? Is everyone's kind of got their own take on things. But speaking of people with their own takes, we have Phil. How's it going, Phil?
Hey all. To be fair though, I checked Thomas' video and I was already on his side, and now he got some very good takes there. I agree.
I might be going this one alone. It's going to be interesting. And finally, we have Krim. How's it going, Krim?
It goes all right. I'm excited to discuss what seems like the 40th time this has been brought up, but at least this time it's official.
Yeah,
right. So that does make it kind of nice.
It's not just me yelling on my Twitter this time. Wizards actually brought it up, so don't blame us. Don't blame us.
It was never just you. I feel like this comes up so often.
I think we've done a podcast about it like years ago.
I think a long time ago we did.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I need to put this to rest. I just hope they do it, so whatever we could actually put this to rest.
Yeah. Anyway, before we get into it, we got some sponsors today. Our show is brought to you by Foil Armor. Do you have problems with your foils curling? Well, Foil Armor is the ultimate solution for flattening your foils. It's a two-way humidity pack that you simply put in an airtight container with your cards, and Foil Armor will absorb and release moisture, making your cards completely flat. Put a pack in your storage box to keep your cards flat forever, and you can head over to foilarmor.com and use the code MTGGoldfish to get 15% off. Our show is also brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to our sponsors for supporting the show. And now it's time for the comment of the week. So last week, we talked about Universes Beyond and if it was ruining Commander, and our top comment comes from Unreasonable Opinions, who said, "It took us 18 years to go back to Kamigawa. It will have taken us 19 years to go back to Lorwyn. It will have taken us 6 months to go back to actual just New York City." Which I think does kind of sum up where we're at with Universes Beyond at the moment.
It just has so many stories to tell. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We got the Spider-Man block. We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle block. Like, there's a lot of blocks to explore.
Did y'all see the Commander format that somebody wants to do where it's just only cards with New York City? And I kind of actually love that.
Yeah.
And I am actually
going to
have
fun
that.
with it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like, that's it's just pure nonsense, and that's what makes it funny. And I think that alone, I do need, this is a bigger issue than all of that, and is that why is it that everywhere we go, it's always in New York City? Please, bring it to, like, I want to see California have a Ninja Turtle problem.
Oh,
right?
Ravnica, though.
There's Ravnica. That's pretty much California.
There's
same thing.
Gotta be some upcoming Universes Beyond set in California. I imagine as we keep moving forward with this, you'll get your wish eventually, Grim. Don't worry. Anyway,
we're doing New York. That's all I'm saying. If we're gonna do New York, at least give me Cali.
I mean, we do have the best pizza.
Cali as the background. I don't know.
All right, let's move on to today's topic, which is the big Commander bracket update from October 21st, 2025. So Wizards did a whole weekly MTG stream of this with Blake talking to Gavin. They did a whole article on it, so you can definitely read all this source stuff. But we're going to kind of go over it, and I think we're going to start with the changes to the game changer list. So they did go through and like redefine some aspects of the bracket system. Tomer, I know you delved into this really deeply. Is there anything actually notable in that? It seemed to me like it was mostly the same system as before, just with like some updated terminology for the most part. Is there anything important in that part that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I think they did a much better job trying to convey what they want the brackets to be. Like, I believe Rachel Weeks was the one who came up with like a new updated image that was like circulating on what each bracket, like the intent of each one was. And one notable change they made off the top of my head was like the expected time that people are expecting, like that it's like okay for people to be starting to die. So I don't have the thing in front of me, but like let's say like bracket 3, for example, it's like okay and expected for people to start dying like by turn 6 or so. Not that the game is going to end, but like that's when people are starting to drop to be eliminated. And if your deck is like killing people faster than turn 6 consistently, then maybe it's a little bit too strong for bracket 3. I think that's like the idea behind it.
So the turn
Would you
thing,
say that?
just to before you get to that, Grim, bracket 1 was 9 turns. Bracket 2 was 8. Bracket 3 was 6. Bracket 4 optimized is 4 turns, and then CDH any turn. But carry on, Grim.
Oh, well, I was just gonna ask, like, do you think this then also means like, hey, if I could win, like even like this, the difference here is your deck is still too strong if you are able to win before that, and you just like sandbag and wait until turn 5 or 6. So your deck is still probably too strong if you can win prior to turn 6. I also really liked bracket 3's. That's my bracket, and they've made it even that much more apparent now than ever because of the high interaction clause. And I love bracket 3. And I'm glad that I've always been right in dropping my decks in bracket 3 because that's where I play at.
I also
go ahead, Jomer.
The one other change that I just popped into my head again, but I remember they removed tutor limits from the bracket systems, which I also thought was pretty good of a change. Like I don't usually run that many tutors in my own decks just because I like the variety of like 99 Karn Singleton. If I run a lot of tutors, then it feels like I'm seeing too much of the same parts of my deck. And but I don't think there's like that much of a correlation between like, let's say I'm running like a lot of like mid tutors, like Diabolic Tutor, for example, 4 mana, search your library for any card, put it into your deck. I don't think that should have much of an impact when determining how strong your deck is overall. So if they just like make the most powerful tutors, game changers or whatever, and if I'm on like a bracket 2 deck and I'm running a bunch of Diabolic Tutor effects, I think that's fine. So I like that they separated that from bracket definitions.
Yeah, I think that was their intent too. I remember Gavin saying, because I watched the stream too, that Gavin said something to the extent of they didn't want to punish players for playing those like janky slow tutors. And there is a big difference between playing, a Vampiric Tutor or a Diabolic Tutor. There's just a huge gap there. And if you're playing bracket 1, maybe you don't want people Demonic Tutoring or Vampiric Tutoring, but if you're playing some 4 or 5 mana tutor, it's probably fine. So I think I'm glad they took that into consideration. I got one more question about this, going back to the turns thing. Phil, I'm curious. Do you actually know what turn your deck wins on? Like, that's my one problem with the turns being in there. I feel like no one knows this. I feel like I don't know this about the decks that I play. And if I don't know this about the decks I play, it's hard for me to imagine someone who plays once every other week or something at their LGS is going to know, like, my deck, the difference between turn 9 and turn 8. Like, it's pretty granular, right? It's not like, I see most people would probably know the difference between a Precon wins on, turn 20 and the CDH deck wins on turn 3. But when you're like, the difference between 6 and 8 or 8 and 9, do people know that? What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I was going to say, even winning, I guess they talked about people dying, which is just a thing of when you would expect this, because winning is like, my decks don't really win on turn 8,
Phil, I
but
don't
it's
even win at all.
certainly gonna be hard to not
Stop
win
you.
unless you super rack me, which happens. But
Is that not
I
winning
don't know.
though? Getting to an
I don't know,
unbeatable
but
board
you don't
state?
really win then. You win the next turn, which either happens or I'm dead. So I guess it's one turn later than this. But it's so hard to estimate your deck. If you don't have a real combo and say, oh, I tutor on this turn to get this thing, this combos with my commander, then you have like a streamlined process of I win on turn 6 or 7. But like a regular landfall deck or something, sometimes you just run into combos and say, yeah, well, I guess if I speed run into this combo, earliest I can win is turn 5 or something. But usually it's about setting up a board state and somehow getting there, which might happen any turn after turn 6 or something.
Mhm.
And what do you
I
think,
think
Tomer?
I do think there's going to always be a lot of difficulty in terms of trying to define brackets in general. Like it's a casual format, and there's a lot of things to track. And obviously, like when we talk about like when does a game end, we don't really know because we're not tracking the turns that well. However, I think there is some promise in terms of like tracking how quickly decks people are starting to die at the very least. Like for example, if I'm playing an elf ball deck and my elf ball deck, if you're not like interacting with me or anything, somehow I'm managing to like Craterhoof kill people on like turn 3 or 4. I think it's a lot easier to track at least the early turns, how many turns it was. And if like people are dying like turn 3, like I just cast Cultivate. That was my first spell this game, you know? It's like turn
Right.
3, play Cultivate, and now I'm dead on Craterhoof. Like that's pretty easy for me to gauge. Whereas like I don't know when it's like after like turn 6 or so, for me it starts becoming a little bit blurry, but at least for the early turns. So like this might help people kind of figure out like, yeah, if your elf ball deck is consistently killing people on turn 3 or so, then maybe it'll be kind of easy to note that, and then you can have a discussion whether or not maybe this deck is better for like bracket 4 rather than bracket 3.
That makes sense. I can see that, right? If your deck's just gold fishing to turn 4 kills and you're playing it at bracket 2 or something, you might be like, okay, maybe this deck's a little bit too powerful, even if I don't have that many game changers or whatever. So I can see like the speed. It's just funny to see like turn 8 versus turn 9. I'm like, I could not tell you one of my decks the difference between turn 8 and turn 9. I also thought it was funny that we just did our stats episode for Commander Clash, and I know this is for when the first person dies, so it's a little different. But our games were an average of over 9 turns. I was like, are we bracket 1? Maybe we're just actually bracket 1 because we're playing 9-turn games pretty consistently. But I imagine someone probably died earlier than turn 9 in a lot of those games.
It's
also very interaction heavy. Like not spot removal, but everybody plays their rafts. I think that helps extending the game.
I mean, spot removal, we got crime at the table. We're not lacking in overall crimes at the table, at least.
Yeah.
So
it evens out.
I am not.
You're holding it up for us.
Since we're on the topic of the bracket system right now, let's jump ahead just a little bit. I was going to get to this later, but there was 4 things in specific that Wizards asked for feedback on, and we're going to get to most of them in the future. But one of those I want your answer to now, which is they want to know if they should add another bracket to the bracket system, either between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. They seem to think would be the right thing. What do you think? Do we need more brackets? I will say my personal worry is like, I feel like if you had too many brackets, you might accidentally end up back at the 1 to 10 scale again, where everyone's a 7 if you just keep building out more and more brackets. Not that the difference between 6 and 5, maybe it wouldn't matter that much, but I kind of lean towards it being unnecessary to add another bracket. But I'm curious what you guys think on that. Should we add another bracket to the system?
No. I like what we have now, like 1 to 5. Just what you just had mentioned is exactly my fear, right? Going back up and all of a sudden we're at a 10 bracket system. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
I don't want that. And already, if you just look at 5 brackets, Rachel had to drop a sheet that looked like an old college like studying like spreadsheet for my paper. I don't think the average player is even going to want to study that, right? And so if there's already a lot to keep up there, imagine adding more brackets and understanding the minute like differences between each one. I would not want to add any more. I think right now is perfect.
Like I know Gavin's been getting a lot of requests for this, but like I don't know. I'm leaning towards don't add more brackets because I think one of the strengths of like a bracket system and stuff is just trying to keep it like clear and concise. And that's why like I also don't want like the game changer list to be too long and stuff. And I agree with a lot of like the overall philosophies of the bracket system. And I do worry that maybe if you're starting to implement more brackets and this starts getting a little bit too granular, and then it's, we go back to my things about a 7 or something. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anybody speak passionately on the other side. So like maybe there are things that I'm missing out on, but like I do
The-
agree with Krim on it overall.
The one argument I could see would be the argument that I guess I kind of made when they first announced the bracket system is, where do I play the decks that I've already been playing? Which is essentially
Mhm.
not super high-powered decks, I don't think. Like, they're casually powered decks, but they don't take into consideration the number of game changers. Some of them might have 0, some of them might have 5 or 6, and there really
Mhm.
isn't, like, a place for that outside of super optimized. And then when you get to super optimized, that's when you have to deal with mass land destruction, theoretically, the fast combo, like turn 4 wins based on this, potentially, or turn 4 kills. So I guess I could see an argument from that side is like, I just want to be able to play with any number of game changers, but I don't want to be like a super fast combo deck or like a,
Mhm.
resource denial deck. But I still think that it's probably not. No, people got to be able to figure
If-
that out, right? Like, I haven't had a
Mhm.
problem going to Magic Cons and finding games since the bracket system started, playing the same
Yeah.
decks that I've always played. It's not like anyone's
Yeah.
had an issue with that. So I imagine people can probably make it work with the current 5.
I especially think like for someone like you, Seth, I feel like you've been playing for so long and you have such a deep knowledge of like where your deck's power is. Like we play literally every single week for
Yeah.
for a decade at this point. A decade. My God.
Not
So
for
like I
another
feel
month.
like
Not for another month, but almost.
I feel like if we go to a bracket 3 game and your deck runs like, I don't know, instead of 3 game changers, you got 5, even 6. But
yeah.
you know that the deck, like, you know the deck's power. I think it's totally fine. Like I guess you could bring it up as a formality, but even so, like I don't think it matters. Does does that affect enough people that we need another bracket in there? Maybe. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. For me, I don't think it's necessary, but maybe.
Well, let's keep moving on. So next change, they made some changes to the game changer list, really with 2 groups of cards that they talked about not really wanting to be game changers. One is high mana value cards, where they were kind of just like, if it costs a ton of mana, it should win you the game. There's already a lot of non-game changers, so if they cost 8, 9 mana, they're probably going to win you the game. So they took Expropriate, Jin
Mhm.
Gataxia's Core Augur, Sway of the Stars, and Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger off of the list. Some of these really big extra turn spells, kind of Vorinclex locks down your land. Sway of the Stars, no one actually plays. I don't even know what it does.
I don't
Jin
think I've even seen
Gataxias-
anyone
Yeah,
cast
no,
that.
I've never
Just
seen
like a
anyone play it.
restart.
So that was group number 1, high mana value cards. Number 2 is legends that are strongest in the command zone. So they took Kinnan, Urza, Winota, and Yuriko off the game changer list, with the idea being that some of those cards are fun in the 99, so they shouldn't be kept from being played in the 99 when it would be reasonable by being game changers. And they also said, and I think this is interesting, and I want to know what you guys think on this in a minute. They also said that they thought that commanders were the easiest thing to rule 0 out, essentially. That when you sit down to a game, you know what your opponent's commander is, and if you really don't want to play against Urza, it's easy to be like, I don't want to play against Urza's deck, just get a different deck. When if it's a card that's in the 99, you wouldn't even know what it was. And there were 2 random ones, Food Chain for some reason, and Deflecting Swat removed from the game changer list. So what do you think of the, not so much the cards, I don't really want to dig into all 11 of these cards individually, but what do you think of the philosophy here? Removing high mana value stuff, removing legends that are strongest in the command zone. What do you think of these changes?
I am so happy. First off, the high mana thing, I have been in belief of that since forever, right? Anything that's high mana is going to win you the game, whatever it is. It doesn't matter which version of it is. So those all just read like blank squares to me. I win the game. Love that change. The change from command zone creatures not being game changers, that I also really like, because as somebody who has a ninja deck, I love playing with Yuriko, but I hate having her be one of my game changers. But I too also know that she is busted as a commander, and so I never play her. But I hate being essentially forced into counting her towards my game changers if I want to. So I've had to take that out. I will say Urza might be a mistake, but that's because I despise artifacts.
I agree with that.
Everything else I think is okay to take off the game changer list and is good in the 99. And then lastly, I don't know why Deflecting SWAT was on the game changer list to begin with. I guess that one just felt like, because I remember at that time, it was like, every other color specifically got like a ton of cards thrown on their list. And I think red and green had like one card. So they were just like, I don't know, throw Deflecting Swat on there. It felt like they just threw a dart and that was one of the cards it landed on. So I'm happy that came off.
I feel like a lot of the, like, in response to Deflecting Swat, I feel like a lot of the initial draft of the Game Changers really felt like they took cards that see a lot of play in CDH and they just kind of threw it on there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that is like a negative way, because that is a way you can build a Game Changer list. You could be like, okay, what is objectively the most competitive cards in the format? Let's put those as a list of cards that we don't want to be seeing at more casual tables. That is a way of doing it. But I feel like in practice, like, casual tables are not running all these cards. Therefore, maybe we don't need to have them on a list if it's aimed at casual people, right? Like for example, Thassa's Oracle, people are talking about maybe we should ban it. And the reason why, like, it's not a conversation starter in casual is because it doesn't really see that much play in casual, at least from my own experiences. But it is a big thing in CDH, right? It's a big thing in CDH. It's the most powerful finisher. So it's like, if CDH people want it, cool, you could ban it. But like, casual players don't really care. So that's why I didn't agree with like the initial take on Game Changers. I also don't like the Urza getting taken off as an artifact lover, but I think that's kind of silly. And the high mana value thing, I feel like it should be a case by case basis. Like, obviously, high mana value spells should be able to have a really high impact. That's the whole point of them. But at the same time, you can't have a high mana value spell that's too strong. Like, for example, if you make a card that just says like, it's 50 mana, and it says can't be countered, split second, you win the game. That card would be absolutely busted, because a lot of these high mana value spells, if you're building around them properly, which is like Omniscience effects, Jin-Gitaxias there, obviously you're not casting Jin-Gitaxias, you're like entombing him and then reanimating him and stuff like that. Like, these are the decks that actually run these type of cards. Like, obviously they can't be too strong. So like, I don't think like blanket like, it's high mana value, therefore it's fine no matter what it does. But that said, I think like that initial list of high mana value stuff is fine, except for maybe Expropriate.
Doesn't that get balanced out by brackets though, right? Like the intent of how good you are at getting a Entomb-esque effect, and like, I don't know, Vorinclex or Jin on like turn 1 and 2, right? Like, if you can do that consistently, then I think your deck may be a little stronger than you would like to believe.
Well, if you have just like, I have my Joda Archmage Eternal, and all I do is I can cast big spells for WUBRG instead of its initial cost. I can see that being as a bracket too, and I can see most of those high mana value spells being playable there. But I think it would be a little bit. It might make more conflict at tables now, because it's like, well, I'm not running any Game Changer, I'm just running a Joda deck. Obviously, I have a bunch of high mana spells. But do you think Expropriate's like allowed at like low brackets? By the way, because in theory, it does allow you to chain extra turns together, right? So is this something that they didn't mention in the article, but like, I was wondering, like, is that something like, if you sit down at a bracket 2 table and I cast Expropriate, would you think like a casual player, like I said, I want bracket 2 or I want bracket 1, and somebody expropriates just like fairly or whatever, is that considered extra chaining us a turn, therefore not that cool?
I mean, it's not that cool to cast this anyways. I think people just scoop.
I was wondering that about Vorinclex too, because isn't Vorinclex like mana denial, mass land destruction in a way? So I was wondering if that would also be excluded from like bracket 1 and bracket 2 games under the no mass land destruction clause, because I don't know if tapping down lands for an extra turn actually counts, but it's like kind of walking the line there to some extent.
This Harbinger of the Seas, Magus of the Blood Moon, all of that stuff, these are all things that I do not equate to the same as like an Armageddon, right? Like, I think an Armageddon is like way better than all of these by a landslide.
It is more powerful. That's true. But still, do you jam Blood Moon in bracket 1 game then? Like, would you feel comfortable with that?
What I mean is like to call this like mass land denial, because this is a creature, right? As opposed to a Blood Moon, which is an enchantment, right? Like, I can't answer a Blood Moon as easily as I can like a Magus of the Blood Moon. So personally, still at the end of the day, power level and whatnot, all that's irrelevant, because I think this bracket system does a better job of kind of like letting you know its intent, right? What is the intent
Mm.
and the incentives of like your deck? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And I think this does a better job of showcasing that and getting that point across. Because I think that was like the problem with the last bracket announcement. Is like everyone's like, oh, but I could build a busted bracket 1 and beat everybody. And I'm like, but
Yeah,
that's
but that's not the whole
the
point of the bracket system.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Phil, I'm curious what you think, and I also want to know specifically. I want to know what you think about any of this. But what do you think about food chain? We haven't really talked about that much. I know they said in the stream that you can do fair things with it, so they wanted it
Sure.
unbanned. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone play food chain fairly, but I guess in theory you could play it fairly. But what do you make of this, Phil?
There's a reprint.
Yeah, I
coming.
don't know. Food chain sounds like the most CEDH. Like, if you don't play it in CEDH, it's a little bit of. If you do fair things with it, it's kind of rude. So I
Yeah.
don't know why they would get it off of there. It's like, yeah, do you just play food chain in casual now and say, oh, look, I'm just playing some creatures
I'm
with
just
it.
making some
It's-
mana.
Yeah, I don't know why they would. Do they have like a limit of how many? Do they get something out of getting one card off there? It seems like this,
Hmm.
and I guess Urza. I get the other ones. They like Yuriko and stuff is. I guess Yuriko's still on there, but Kinnan, for example, is only. Wait, is Yuriko still on there? I'm confused
Eureka's
now.
off.
Eureka got
Eureka's
moved
off.
off.
Okay,
as
so
part of
yeah, this
too,
one's
yeah.
only good in the command zone. I guess Kinnan as well. Urza is also crazy strong in the 99, so I don't know
Yeah.
if
Mhm.
that holds up. Food chain though, I
I'm
wouldn't
guessing-
consider this casual at all or non-game changery, whatever.
I'm gonna
I'm
be very
guessing-
honest. I don't even know what a fair food chain looks like. That just sounds
Yeah.
impossible. It sounds unfathomable to me.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know how. Yeah,
cannot.
my brain does not
I guess-
comprehend.
I guess you could just
It's
throw
just
it into
rude.
like a big stompy deck, and then it's just like, oh, I'm ramping out other things with big ETBs. I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
think-
not
I've never
fair,
seen
though,
it.
right? Like,
I've
that's
never
the-
seen it. Yeah.
I think part of their justification there too was also that fast combos are banned at lower brackets. So if you're gonna try to like do the busted thing with food chain, you're not gonna be
Oh.
able to do it at lower brackets
Yeah.
anyway. So you can like,
That's
but
fair.
I think that just. I feel like that's a trap. I feel like it's a
Yeah.
logical trap. It's the paradox engine trap, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm playing bracket too. I'm going to play this fair food of chain. And then next thing you know, you accidentally are just like chaining through your deck and making all the mana. And like, you
Yeah.
didn't try to build a combo, but that's just kind of what the card does. So I could see people accidentally comboing with food chain almost, or having those really long turns with food chain
That's
without even
yeah.
intending to.
That's why I have a little bit of concerns on like what is the game changer list? Like who is the game changer list for? Like what is the intent of the game changer list? Who are you trying to help with this? And I thought at least it's like aimed mostly at casual players to kind of like steer rule zero conversation. That's what it says like at the beginning of the chart and everything. And then it makes me a little bit worried that like if you remove too many things from the game changer list, don't you just put more and more onus on the people you're trying to help with this to have the rule zero conversation without any assistance? Because it's like, okay, yes, let's say like Vorinclex, for example, if you look on EDH Rec, it's incredibly high on the SALT score. And we look on the game changers and we can see the definition is that they should generally be cards that are easily and dramatically warp commander games, allowing players to run away with resources, shift games in ways that many players find unpleasant, block people from playing, etc., etc. And
That's
the
Vorinclex.
shift in ways people find
Yeah.
unpleasant, well, how do we quantify unpleasantness? Obviously, it's very subjective, but like one of the best tools we do have is the EDH Rec SALT score. So I would imagine, and that was also like brought up many times when they initially pitched they revealed the bracket system and they revealed the game changer list. Like we use EDH Rec SALT score a lot to figure out what do people not like. And that's why like mass lane destruction and mass resource denial and all that stuff, those are things that are like left out of the early brackets. Does Vorclex not fit that same definition? And if so, does that mean it's not allowed in brackets 1 and 2, but it's not on the game changer list? So now it's just up to the players to kind of figure that out on their own. And then at that point, it's like, what's the intent? What's the purpose of this game changer list? Who is this for? And that's like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, that's what I was starting to think about when the change happened. Like, in theory, this kind of makes sense to me, but like, I feel like the update in itself makes sense, the logic there, but then like going backwards, like going back to the basics, what is the game changer list for? What's the intent here?
If not for
It's the set-
Vorinclex, then what is it? Yeah.
It's to set the staples, right? Like to set apart what are like EDH staples. Like if you think
Okay.
about standard, there's the staple
Yeah.
cards.
But then wouldn't that
And
be
then
Arcane
Farseek
Signet?
isn't
Like
on
if
there,
we're going
though. Yeah.
Farseek or Nature's Lore, there's a lot of staples that are not.
But you know,
broken.
like sure, there's a lot of staples because like Cultivate and all of that. But I'm talking like the busted stuff, like the really strong staples, right?
Mhm.
This is is the way I took this, and that's fine, and that's why it makes sense, right? Like now it's like, hey, when me and my like friends, we get together and we play, it's just like we're not playing like 40 of the most busted cards and then 20 flavor cards, right?
Don't Would we be better suited with Canelander system then? That's what it sounds like, right? Like if we just like
Ugh.
put a point system to the most powerful cards,
that's
wouldn't-
too complicated.
That's too complicated. But is that the intent of the game changer list? Like I'm down for that. If that's
Honestly,
like how we're going for, but like
the good part about the calendar system is that you have it is all kind of like game changers. Not every card is on there, but the cards that do have points vary between like 8 to 1
how
point.
good they are. Yeah.
So they could, if before getting Urza off the list, which seems a little, they could just lower his points. That again, it is very a lot. If I tell somebody who just starts Magic, it's to say like, oh, now you have to check every card in your deck to see if you get some no points for putting it in there, and then you add up those points, and then you compare decks before you can play. It's not intuitive, but I do like the fact that it's on a scale then. So some cards are just egregiously game changery, and some of them are like, yeah, you know what you're doing, but it's
Be
fine.
cautious. Yeah. I think that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish there was a way to do it that wasn't too complicated for like a new player, but that would be my main concern, what Grim said. But I think that's kind of what they're going for. I know my concern from what you said, Tomer, is like I do not really understand like what the goal is completely with some of these like Sway of the Stars, whatever, that's fine. Like I get the philosophy of getting rid of the high mana value stuff. I don't really understand getting rid of the saltiest high mana value stuff, which is like Expropriate, Jin-Gitaxias, Vorinclex. I would think some of the cards they didn't unban, like even Consecrated Sphinx or Coalition Victory, actually to me seem less salty than the cards that they did take off the game changer list, which is weird. I also worry that like taking a card like Vorinclex off the game changer list, does that explicitly send the message to people that you should be playing this in your lower tier, lower bracket decks? Like if I saw, oh, Vorinclex is no longer a game changer and I just had some lower tier, lower bracket ramp deck or something, I would probably take this as a message like, oh, that's a really busted card. I should throw that in my deck. It's not a game changer anymore. So I wonder if this will actually lead to those cards seeing more play in lower bracket decks. Like, do you think that's a possibility just because they're not game changers anymore? Because I don't think that's an outcome that most bracket 1 players want. If like what we get out of this is you play against Jin-Gitaxias and Vorinclex twice as often as before, I don't think that's like the commander format most bracket 1 players or bracket 2 players are hoping for.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also
You're right,
I just
it's
don't know if
kinda-
I'm allowed to play it or not. Like, is
Yeah.
Expropriate considered chaining extra turns? Am I allowed to do that in bracket 2? I don't know. And I'm a
Yeah.
person who's like super invested in
That
this
is true.
and read the freaking article. Most people who are going to be using this will not read this article. I'm sorry, I know this. So if I don't know, then at the very least I would like more clarification.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will be coming out soonish.
I know they said more updates in the first of the year, and part of the reason we're getting more updates in the first of the year is there was 4 specific things that Wizards wanted our feedback on. We already talked about adding another bracket. We moved past that. The next 2, should a card be banned? Cards Rhystic Study, Thassa's Oracle. And this is not moved to the game changer list. This is like straight up banned. They are not allowed to be played anymore. I know you hate Rhystic Study, Tomer. Do you think it should be banned, though? I'm actually curious what you think on this, because I know on a personal level you don't like it, but I'm not sure, like, philosophically, if you think it should be on the ban list.
Again, I think first we have to have a proper definition of what the purpose of a ban list is, because like I I can't find it right now. Maybe I'm not looking everywhere, but like I couldn't find a definition of a ban list for Commander right now, as per like the current rules committee. It might be there. I just don't have it offhand. Like you could make a case, for example, like maybe we don't need a ban list at all anymore if we have a game changer list and it's widely adopted, and then we could just unban everything, and then we could use Rule 0 to sort it out. I would say that would be a bad idea. I would hope maybe my definition would be like just ban the things that see regular play, like people are incentivized to run it. Therefore, it's like a powerful card. It's a desirable card, and also yields an unpleasant gameplay experience for the vast majority of people. I'm not just saying like 60%. I'm talking about if like 90% of people can agree that we do not enjoy playing against this card, playing with this card, and yet it's so powerful and so popular, we're going to be seeing it all the time. It was going to make the average gameplay experience worse. I think that would be a good definition. And based on that, I'm looking at the SALT score again, which is again our best metric outside of like anecdotal evidence in our own little play groups. Rhystic Study is the 5th most salty card of 2025. It is directly behind Tergrid and right in front of the Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale, which gives an upkeep cost to all your creatures, and Armageddon and Static Orb. Like, I don't know. If we're following my definition, which again you don't have to, that was the best one that I could come up with at
Tomer,
this moment.
did you just gloss over the new entry? The new
Vivi.
Vivi is numbered 3
Get it out
on
of
the
here.
SALT score.
Get me
my
right out of
God.
here.
So-
I have a CDH Vivi deck, by the way, now, and I still think, oh my god, just get rid of it.
I do not think you should ban Rhystic. Why? Like, in the same ways that I agree that, you know, like this Soul Ring is busted, and I wish that was gone, but, you know, we've kept that, right? And they also now
ban
are
it, too.
using the Rhystic as a, you know, it's getting grandfathered in, essentially.
Iconic.
And I think there's an expectation, you know, everybody talks about the meme, right? Like, we as a community always go, do you pay the 1, right? This has built a whole community in joke, right? Like, where everybody knows about it. And I think there is a bit of fun to that. And I think that there is an element of like, okay, we all go through the Rhystic experience together at some point, and somebody will have to, like, you know, play against it. And I think that's fine. I think it's a part of the game, right? I do not think it's a bad thing to be a part of the game.
I mean,
Do
through the
we need
Rhystic
new players to go through that? It's like, it sounds like
Yeah,
a
why
horrible
not?
hazing experience. Like,
But it's
my
not
grandfather did these awful experiments when they showed up in the first week of university, and I'm like,
Not
well,
the
I don't
same.
want to do that.
Not the
I don't
same.
know.
Not the same comparison.
It feels
That is-
exact same. It
That
feels
is
exact
like
same
turn the
playing against
meter up
Rhystic.
to 11, and then sure, maybe.
It's just because
Well, but
something's iconic means it's like, do we
I
need to
think-
keep it?
I personally like cards that ask the table to pay attention.
Oh my
I-
god.
I personally,
What
is more
happened? There's
annoying?
no way, Krim, you're defending this. This is
What-
like
what
a
is-
complete 360 from you. What?
What is more annoying than
You were so anti-Rhystic, like,
wait,
at
wait,
least
no,
a
no,
month
no.
ago.
I've
What?
never been anti-Rhystic. I just don't
No
play
way.
it because
not
the-
good
I,
enough.
No
I'm not
way.
allowed to.
Too
So-
underpowered.
What happened? The JLK got to you, Krim. What
Dude,
happened?
no, Rhystic is a fine card. Whether or not I like it or not, I think it is a fine card, right? I do not see it as a problem, is the main thing. I think that if we were going off of things that I didn't like, you know, Cultivate would be banned, right? Which is like kind of pointless.
No.
So that's what I mean, though. Like, I feels like there's just a lot of like unnecessary hate to this. There's a lot of hate to it, and it's fair, it's warranted, but it is mostly just, it's kind of funny. It's like a community thing, and I think it's a gameplay element that I like. And the more cards that invite play or force players to pay attention, I think the better.
I feel like I kind of see what you're saying with, like, it's an experience everyone goes through. I could kind of see that. My problem with Rhystic is, though, it's an experience you go through again and again and again. Like, it's not like,
Mhm.
it's not like you play against it once and then you never see it again. It's like, the card that I think people use most in their blue decks off the Game Changer list. If you're playing bracket 2 or bracket 3 and you have a limited amount of Game Changers and you're playing a blue deck, I just based on the play rates that we see on EDH Rec, a huge percentage of people have got to be like, oh, that's the first Game Changer I add to my deck. So I feel like it just shows up so often, and if it was a rare experience, I think I would be more okay with like, okay, like it's really annoying when it happens, but it doesn't happen very often. But being like one of the most played blue cards and one of the most obnoxious blue cards is just like a bad spot for a card to be.
Seth, according you play to Standard, you know there's always a good card, a best card, right? I'm not talking about the unhealthy extremes of this, right? I'm talking about there's always a good card that rises to the top. And when and this is just one of those. But for Commander, it's a good card. But if you look at the Salt list here, I think only one of the top 10 cards, what is it? The rest of the top 10 cards, 9 of the top 10 cards, is actually a problem, I think, when it comes to gameplay. And Rhystic is nowhere near that. Rhystic is the one that I think doesn't deserve to be up here with the Salt cards. I don't think it needs to be up here. Why does it need to be up here?
I think it's the psychological damage. It's not even just the power level. It's just people really dislike playing
also the power
against it. But I mean, it is
the power level.
The power level makes it
That's
good enough to show up all the time, right? And then
strong.
It's very annoying once it shows up.
Yeah.
You can have it be strong, right? Like I think it is okay to have it be strong, but I don't think it fundamentally breaks anything like Static Orb, Armageddon, Tabernacle, right? Like I don't think these are this card is anywhere near Winter Orb, Stasis. Even Grand Arbiter Augustine, right? Like is higher up than this card. I don't see the problem with this card. I think the One Ring is more of a problem than this card. So I don't know. I don't see why you would ban this.
The vast majority of people consider it a salty card, hence it's in the top 5 of the Salt score, which is just that's just the best metric we have right now. And it's the second most played blue card. You know, I don't even know how many people actually play Static Orb. It's a saltier
what's the
card.
most played blue card?
Counterspell.
Counterspell? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Counterspell than Rhystic Study.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
All these cool arts.
And it's
I wouldn't ban it, but I get that judging by their metrics of what to ban, I'd rather have a Sway the Stars hit the board than just one of these Rhystic games. So I'd just restart before I have to pay or not pay, and then it's it's like an extra rule kind of. I mean, that's all Magic cards kind of feel like that, but I don't know. Rhystic has this special feel to it. I kind of thought they would unban all cards when they made Game Changers.
I think that's the end goal, honestly.
But then why would they? Yeah, if that's the end goal, they shouldn't ban it. I don't know.
You have to wait until there's wide adoption and everything. They also can't just roll out immediate changes as soon as they take over the RC. Obviously, they're going to slow roll it a little bit.
Yeah,
There's skeptic, grumpy version of me who kind of knows where this is, who feels he knows where this is going, but yeah.
Plus, though, that also would be unbanning the Power 9, and you have some weird financial implications for
Don't
stuff like that.
RL,
if you're literally
going to
be no ban list, then someone can just show up with a Black Lotus as their Game Changer if they have hundreds of thousands of dollars. That seems awkward.
That doesn't make Hasbro money, Seth. You know this. You keep the RL. And then you'd unban everything else. So the RL stays.
Okay.
And then you unban everything else that's not on the RL because that's reprint equity.
I could see that. If you're gonna exclude the RL and contraptions and some of those weird things, then that's fine. That's fine.
Or you unban everything, and that's when you announce that you're abolishing the reserve list.
Oh yes,
and
list
you
gone.
announce a secret lair with the Power 9.
Power 9.
Boom.
It'll sell for $20,000.
You just
described
Magic 30.
So Rhystic, one thing I've learned about Commander over the past year is a huge percentage of Commander players, based on what I have heard from the community, are just hard anti-bannings, period. In a casual format, people want to be able to play what they want to play, and they don't really want Wizards to tell them that a card is hard banned in the format. So I've kind of changed my opinion on this a little bit, just based on the immense amount of feedback I've gotten from people. And I'm kind of I wish Rhystic Study didn't exist. I wish I never had to play against it again. I think the format would be better like that. but maybe you don't ban it just because people get so upset over bannings that maybe it's not worth it. Like, I think the format would be better without it, but if people are going to be so upset about it getting banned, maybe it's just not worth all the heartache of going through the banning process. Because
I don't know about that.
Really?
Right? Because I think that if you are afraid of like the reaction that people would have about a certain card, like you should do what's good for the gameplay experience, right? And the fun of the game, right?
But I think I think it's weird in Commander in specific. I
We'll get
agree
to
with
that.
you. But I agree with Commander in specific. Like, the hard part about Commander in specific is a lot of people just like play it on their kitchen table and they make up their own rules, and they don't want this like authority over them saying you can't do this thing. Because once a card's hard banned, then they feel like they can't use that card and it's fine on my kitchen table in my whatever janky deck or whatever. So I feel like that works really well for like competitive 60 card formats, and I hard agree that you should ban based on that. But I feel like Commander, like, people want it to be self-regulating. For better or worse, that's like the ethos of the format, is people just want it to be this self-regulating thing where there's not a ban list. So I'm kind of shifted in like being in favor of as small a ban list as possible. So I'm actually like, I'd be fine with Rhystic Study being banned. I just don't think that's what most of the community wants based on what I've heard.
One, it's a game changer, so leave it as a game changer. It should always be a game changer, Rhystic. Second, I think that, like, yes, that is fair, and I think it's great. I too love unbanning a lot of stuff but like the tabletop kitchen table like players, they're probably going to do that anyways, right? Like, why would they care about a ban list anyways? It's
Yeah,
more
they
like
play at home with their thing, and they say, I don't want people giving me rules. Then it's just like,
they're just
run the cards you want. What
Yeah,
is
just
stopping
don't
you? You're
care
playing at a
about
kitchen
the-
table?
Pinkertons
Yeah,
might show up,
can-
Tomer.
Oh my God.
okay. if the Pinkertons show up because you decide to play with a ban card, that's other issues.
You
right?
put Rhystic Study in your deck. Get him.
We
The only
saw you
point-
put that in there.
The only use of a ban list and like game changer and everything is like if you're going at like other like hanging out with other people, right? Like if you're just playing with your own little group in a kitchen table, why are you following a ban list? That's crazy.
Yes, exactly. Like, why care at
Yeah,
all?
I mean, why even adhere to the rules of the game then? What if they say,
You
"Oh, if I
don't."
want to draw," yeah, but they just don't do that. Like, I don't think
Okay.
you can say,
Then why are
"Here's
you
a ban
mad?
list, but please
Yeah,
ignore it."
yeah, well, exactly. Then why are
I
you
don't think that's
mad?
how it works. I guess it would be
Then
nice.
stay
if people-
mad. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like,
I don't know. I feel like people like, I don't know. It's different when a card's actually banned. Like I think it's
Okay.
easy for
Yeah.
people to ignore the game changer list, but when a card is actually banned, then you have someone that comes up to you and is like, "Oh, don't you know that card's banned? You can't have that in your deck," and it becomes like a thing, and people just want to avoid it. And like, I don't know. I feel like banning just carries more weight to it than any of this other stuff in people's
A
minds
banned
for some
card-
reason.
and an uncard are the same to me. If you do what you want with that, talk to your table, right? Like, I'm just not going to bring them to MagicCon because I am not playing with my group of friends at home. But if I'm at home and I'm playing with friends anyways, I'm like, dude, I don't care if you play Urza silver bordered, right? I don't care what you do in that point. And to me, those cards are all on the same. And if you have your own play group, these rules don't apply to you. They don't matter. It's more of in a public setting, then that's where it would. And in that situation, I would care about, like, hey, I'm just going to dockside you all day long in casual, like, you know what I mean? Or Jeweled Lotus everywhere. Like, I care about that.
Well,
I
like,
care
the
about that in a
problem, like-
public setting.
Silver border is usually janky, but you're gonna get beaten by a banned card. Like a Dockside will just
Sure.
win the game on the spot, and you'll say, "Well, just,
But they're all Christmas Land
know.
cards anyways. So the difference to me, it does not matter, right? Like, whether it's hilariously silly or hilariously broken, it is of the same, like, I'm going to treat them the same to me. So you can play, if you want to play with banned cards, talk to your table, right? Like, hey, you want to play with banned cards? You want to play with silver bordered cards? It's all the same.
I do think like this is a point, like as much as I am very much of a cynic, and I feel like the whole point of all this bracket system was to get to the point to unban everything and then just use the game changer list willy-nilly. That could be actually like a viable solution. Like I keep talking to people, like I mentioned with Seth before too, like despite whatever motives I believe that Wizards of the Coast actually has, which is always like profit driven, the end result can still be good and a benefit for the game. And
Yeah.
maybe unbanning everything is the road to do if that's going to make more people happy. The way I see it, though, is that like if we have a metric on like what people want from Commander and like the certain game expectations people are looking for, gameplay experience people are looking for, and we learn from that it's like, oh, I don't want to have heavy stacks. I want to play my deck. I want my deck to do the thing, all these things. Then yes, curating some sort of system to help enable that is useful, and that does mean cutting down on the most powerful cards that will win the game too quickly before people have a chance to do the thing, and also resource denial because the casual people who are the vast majority end up not liking it. I have much more tolerance for those type of strategies, but if the vast majority of people say, I don't like X thing in my Commander games, then yeah, maybe it's worth removing that or limiting how much play it has. That's why I look at Rhystic Study. It's like one of the most popular cards, literally one of the most popular cards in the entire format. And also, by the only metric that we can see, is one of the least liked cards in the entire format. Both are true according to their best data. I feel like if there's anything that needs to be banned, like that's how else are you judging these things, right? Like, I'm sorry, JLK,
And
if you're listening.
And the
Your
numbers are
boy.
pretty like off the chart. If you just look on the salt list, like Rhystic Study is in 880,000 decks according to the salt list. Something like Stasis, 14,000. Winter Orb, 40,000. Could you imagine
It's
if
a
like the other cards
fraction.
equally as salty were the
Oh my
most
gosh.
played card in the format? Commander would be kind of
Oh my
miserable
God.
if there were that many decks playing, Static Orbs and Winter Orbs. As far as Thassa's Oracle, before we move on to our last topic, Hybrid, the one thing I'd say about Thassa's Oracle is if the CDH community thinks it should be banned, I think they should be banned. I know that they kind of used their one time with Flash a few years ago, but if Wizards is listening to this, I don't think Thassa's Oracle matters for casual players. I don't think casual players really care about it. I don't think we play it very often. I almost never see it when I go to MagicCon games. I almost feel like it's been shadowed banned because people know it's just like too easy. It's too boring. So I actually see more
Shadow
lab bans
banned?
than I do. Well, it's not like officially
It's
banned,
bad.
but we choose
It's
not
just
to play it.
actively bad in casual, right?
I mean,
Why
yeah.
is it actively bad though? Like, isn't it not insane? But we choose not to play it because, like, couldn't
I
our
mean,
casual
with
deck
Thoroughly.
just,
Honestly,
like, win
because
the
if,
game
if,
with
I,
it
if
we
my
wanted to?
intent of casual is to not combo and 2-card combo, I am literally playing a 2-mana 1/3 that scries. And when I played that Merfolk episode in Clash, that was exactly the reason I did. I was like, oh, I just needed to fix my draw. Like, I didn't even like that last line of text is just vanilla. Like, it's flavor text to me.
Yeah,
So,
I
it's
guess-
like if you want a lab man effect in a casual deck, like some decks just draw a lot of cards.
Sure.
Most Seth and Phil decks,
Yeah.
I'm going to lump them together.
I
to
do
just
occasionally
it.
Yep.
play it in heavy card draw decks, just
Yeah.
like fair. But even
Same.
then, I've moved towards playing Labman more because I just think it's more interesting and more like
Yeah.
fun for the table. But all I would want to say is, if CDH is going to be better with it banned, I think they should ban it. I don't think they should
Yeah.
keep it legal because the casual players, because I just don't think casual players really care that much about Thassa's Oracle. Like, it sucks that Crimson Merfolk deck wouldn't have it as a 2-drop, but it isn't that interesting of a card in casual.
No,
so
I mean, you're right.
if it's
though. No
going
one
to
cares about
greatly
it, right?
improve CDH,
Mhm.
Yeah.
go ahead and ban it. Us casual players, I think, will survive. Like, if they ban it for
okay.
the sake of CDH.
If you're talking about a power level, I agree. Like, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter to casual commanders. Like, I don't even care. I took it out of my deck. It just sucks, right? It's just a
Yeah.
1/3 that scries. But I do worry that if we are now banning for CDH all in, like, and having that speak to just all of Commander, I am now worried about, like, whether or not that should just mean that is CDH a separate format? Because what if something comes down the line that eventually will become a problem in CDH and completely a non-factor in, like, Commander, like casual
Well,
Commander?
I mean,
Yeah,
I think that
Thoracle
already
is
happens,
there,
right? With Thoracle, yeah.
I
With
think it's
Thoracle, but, like,
when we
more.
have a card that's like popular in casual and
Yeah.
like people enjoy it and play it fairly, but it's absolutely busted in CDH. I feel like that is a conflict, and I feel
Yeah.
like I would very much be strongly in support of like just leave it for casual at that point.
Yeah,
and-
CDH
and
gotta
and
deal with it.
supersede. Because it's just
Mhm.
like the amount of people who are playing again. Like, yeah, my entire philosophy for Commander is trying to make it as good for the vast majority of people. And I'm talking like not just like 50%. I'm talking about like 90%. 90% of people, 95%. I don't know, some crazy threshold of people want X, and the small minority want Y. I feel like you got to go with the vast majority.
Yeah.
But like over here, it's just like I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't if Thoracle was very popular in casual, I'd be like, absolutely, do not get rid of it just for CDH. But if it's like unplayed in casual, then
Yeah.
I don't care.
I feel like, to go with your example, I feel like this is a case where the vast majority of the 90% just don't care, really, because they're
Sure.
just like, it's Thassa's Oracle. So if the 10% or whatever the number is that plays CEDH really does care and feels like it's greatly going to change how they play, in this case, I would be okay with it. I do hear what you're saying, Crim, and I think I agree that, like, I don't want Commander bannings to be based on CDH. This one in specific, to me, similar to the Protein Hulk one, which I think was a similar case where it just, like, people weren't really turn one Flash Hulk comboing in casual. So I was like, okay, like, I don't really care whether you ban that or not, because, like, it just doesn't affect me. I feel like Thoracle's kind of on that same level. For as, like, a one-time exception, I'm fine with it, but I do
These
agree
would be
that
convenient, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes.
It's so
But
sad
do we
though,
know-
because
When it is inconvenient, then what, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
then
I
I
think you
would
go
definitely
casual.
side with casual in that
How
side.
the-
Yeah.
Wait, do we know how the larger CDH community reacted about the dockside ban? Like, did they say, "Oh,
don't
we
know.
just"?
I remember everyone
I don't
was
know, you
really
always
pissed about
hear
Mana
both
Crypt,
sides.
but I don't
Yeah, I
remember
mean
about
that's
Dockside
also
in
a
specific.
financial thing. Like the problem is you hear both sides on social media. Like if you go on Twitter or something, of course you hear people complaining about their 10 mana crypts losing all their value. And then the classic, oh, just deal with it, which is also totally fair. I don't know.
The part that surprised me is when I mentioned this on social media, I assumed that CDH players just wanted Thassa's Oracle banned, and they were keeping it unbanned because of casual players.
Oh yeah, I saw
But
the
then once
threads.
CDH players started talking about it, it seemed like most of the people who said they were CDH players actually think it should be legal. And it was like play to win guys, I think, were like holding the flag for we should ban it. And they were getting kind of trashed in the comments by everyone like, no, we got to keep it legal. So I was actually surprised because I assumed that CDH players just wanted it gone. But even a lot of CDH players apparently don't actually want it gone, which caught me by surprise. But anyway, we
I
got
have
one
no
more.
idea.
One more big topic. Hybrid mana. So Wizards wants feedback on whether they should change how hybrid mana works in Commander. Right now, the way that a card like Kitchen Finks works in Commander is it's considered to be a green card and a white card, but they would change this so Kitchen Finks would be considered a green card. Or I said that backwards. Right now, it's considered a green card and a white card, but they would change it so it'd be considered a green card or a white card. So you could play Kitchen Finks in mono white, mono green, Selesnya, any 3-color deck that has at least white or green in it. What do you guys think of this change? This is one where I've been saying for years and years. Oh, did I say something wrong? Tomer, go ahead.
I just want to clarify. It's only for deck building. So your Kitchen Finks, if you put it like only for deck building purposes, it will be a green card or a white card. So you can put it in more decks. But in actual gameplay, like it's still a green and a white card. It's a multicolored card.
Right.
Like it's both green. It has both green and white color.
This is
not colored.
specifically
I don't
a
know
color
what's the word.
identity issue,
Yeah, this is a
essentially.
color
Like, this
identity
is
for deck
100%
building
just dealing
only.
with the deck building and color identity. It wouldn't change anything with how the game actually played. Once it's just what decks could you
still a
actually
green,
put
white
Kitchen
creature.
Finks into? Yeah. But it would still be a green and white creature according to the actual rules. So it would be a tweak to color identity, really, more than Kitchen Finks.
I do love that
Okay,
Kitchen
so-
Finks is often the example
is
here,
the
but that is
one.
like the
It is the
least
one.
offensive card. If
Yeah.
every card was Kitchen Finks, sure. But
Really?
you got to think about the other cards outside of Kitchen Finks.
Really,
right?
though? Okay, so Krim, let me ask you this. Would you like to know what card is the most played in Commander that would actually be impacted by this change? The most played hybrid card that is impacted by this would
I
be
mean, the
Cold-Eyed
companions will-
Selkie.
The
yeah.
wait,
Cool,
Well,
yeah,
Cold-Eyed
but
Silky is
the companions
printed
will.
in
No.
a lot of precons.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then,
That's-
then
I
the
don't
next
think
one
we
would be
can-
Saheeli Sublime Artificer. Like, we're
That's
talking about cards
also-
that suck.
yeah.
These are just like cards that
No,
are
this
not...
doesn't suck though. No,
No,
Saheeli
wait,
is
wait.
pretty-
Yeah, that card doesn't
Yeah.
suck at all.
Well,
But
it's
not
not
like
the
heavily
thing is-
played.
See,
Yeah, they're
this
not
is the
yet.
one.
I would play Fiend Artisan in so many decks, but the problem. So I tried to explain this to my girlfriend that recently started getting into all of this. And then she said, wait, no, but that's, why can't I play a green card? Now, we were looking at Deathrite Shaman, which I guess this one wouldn't even be legal, but the border still looks green and black. And I said, yeah, you can play this in mono black then. And she said, why? I said, I can't explain. I guess because Wizards wants to sell you stuff. I would recommend Thomas' video here. It's not like every color already has everything. We don't need to say, oh, they need more. They need an extra combat and a repeatable sacrifice tutor in Fiend Artisan in mono green deck so you can sack away your wood elves. I would love to do this, by the way, but nah, why? Just print a new one if they really want it and make it mono green. They're also going to print Busted Mythics as this. And they're going to say, ooh, you want to buy this now, huh? It's 5 color, but it's actually hybrid everything, and you can play it in every deck, and it's a ring or something.
The problem-
It's going to be bad.
The problem
don't
I have with
open the
that
door for
argument
this.
is Wizards prints busted cards like that every set anyway with the current rule with the
Don't
current
make it
rules. It's
easier
not
for
like
them.
we have been
Sure.
not getting a
Yeah.
whole bunch of busted cards, even with hybrid working like it does now.
I mean, that's the thing, right?
Why
Like,
though?
what are we hurting for cards? Should we have 9 sets a year? Is that what we're asking for here? Like we're not hurting for cards. So I do not
Okay, so-
understand what the purpose of this is, right?
Wait,
like
you're
I,
against hybrid?
I do not want hybrid to be.
Yeah, I'm the
I do
only
not want
fan.
hybrid to
Okay.
be like
I thought it was
allowed in a
2-on-2.
monocolor deck
Sorry,
building,
Seth.
No, you're good.
So,
Yeah.
Seth, do
which
you
is
also agree that Phyrexian mana would be like, can I play my Metamorph then? Because I mean, by the logic, it is designed for this, and you can play it with this, or like
that is different.
whatever.
That is, I think
sure.
Phyrexian mana is different than hybrid, right? Obviously, but like, I think
not obviously.
in gameplay, it plays way different because you still it is
You gotta
a
pay
pay
2
life
life.
or pay that mana, regardless of whether or not that mana ever gets paid. The point here is that it is not a color identity thing. That is an alternative way to play a card. Color identity, I think the cards like, like Seth hates Withering Torment and Feed the Swarms, and this is why it always blows my mind
Yeah.
that you are
this is
so
actually
for
wild.
this.
Here's my argument to that. So I know I hate Feed the Swarm and Black, breaking the color pie. When I look through the list of hybrid cards, and maybe I'm missing a whole bunch of cards and just seeing this completely wrong, I see like a few what I would consider outliers that I think actually seem to like be color pie breaks to me. But I would say most or like a majority of the hybrid cards, I don't actually think would really feel like color pie breaks. Like most of them actually feel like cards that if they were monocolor and either of their colors, I think they make sense within the color pie. I know, like, even the ones that I was most skeptical of, like Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, which
That
to
card's
me it
green.
seems really weird that a mono blue
it's
card
green,
would
yeah.
draw based on a creature power 4 greater entering the battlefield. But then you had some like Wizards, ex-Wizards people saying like blue can draw cards however they want to. So it's not a color pie break because literally any way that blue draws cards is going to be in their color pie. So even the stuff that I thought was like kind of a color pie break, a lot of them from Wizards perspectives aren't even color pie break. So I don't know. I think that argument's actually overblown because I just think that most of the hybrid cards actually aren't color pie breaks in either of their monocolors. There are a few I would say I think they are, but most of them I don't think are.
But the picture as a whole, right, is that maybe right now, even though there are cards that I think personally do break color pie, are let's say there's more inoffensive cards than there are offensive. Will that always be true?
If
Right,
Wizards
like, and the
does
thing-
their job correctly, then yes. If they're just gonna go and break the color pie with their future designs,
no.
they could do that anyway, right? Like I
But-
can't
but-
control what they print next set or next year.
Let's say just this past year and a half, we've seen a lot of hybrid mana return, okay? We've seen it through all the sets. And let's say they start doing these hybrid color cards, and one ability is very obviously blue and the other one is very obviously black, right?
Yeah.
Very, so it's like, okay, then my now mono blue deck would have access to a very, black ability. Or
So-
vice versa, right? I think
Jetsam.
that in the future, right, like Flotsam Jetsam, sure. Like that mono blue having access to Flotsam Jetsam seems weird to me, but like the main thing is I think in the future, like you got to future proof this too. And if they change this rule, and if something comes down the line, now mono blue decks could have something access to a color or ability they shouldn't. So I don't know.
Well-
I personally just would rather play it safe and keep it all off the table because, like, why, right? Like, what does this do? How does this make the gameplay better, the deck building better? I don't think it does.
Yeah.
So one
I
of the
don't even
problem
care about
in-
the color pie. It's just unnecessarily complicated. Like it's already. Why don't we just use the simple version of if the color identity fits your commander, that's fine. Then you can play it. Why do you say whale? And then because Wizards wanted to sell you more cards, also these, but not Phyrexian mana or the things from Brothers War that you can play for colorless, but also cheaper if you. It's
I'm glad you brought this up because I've heard a lot of slippery slope arguments about this. Where I've watched a bunch of videos, a bunch of people talked about this, and a very common argument is, well, then it's hybrid, and then it'll be Phyrexian mana, and then it'll be split cards, and then it'll be packs, and pretty soon color identity won't even exist anymore. And I see what people are saying, but if I think of actual rule changes implemented in Commander and in Magic, I cannot think of a single case where that actually happened. When they made it so you could make mana outside of your color identity, that didn't lead to the end of color identity. It was one change that made the game better. When they decided they'd make vehicles legal as commanders, that didn't lead to Planeswalkers legal as commanders. Actually, Wizards came out in this stream and said, we're not interested in making. So give me one example of this slippery slope actually happening. Otherwise, I think it's a logical fair. It's a logical fair. Well, I'm not talking about you in specific, but I'm actually like, I saw a bunch of videos over the weekend where that was basically the argument was packs and it's going to be this slippery slope. I think you mentioned it in your video, Tomer, but I'm just curious if there's like,
that's why I wanted to mention something.
like, is this slippery slope real, or is this actually just a logical fallacy that everyone's using?
Well, I do think, for example, that we had just legendary creatures used to be the commander, right? And then Wizard of the Coast was like, well, we don't really. We wanna mix that up a little bit, right? So we go for instead of just having one commander, we get partners. And that's like, okay, fine. And then we also have planeswalkers, and they specifically put a text like, don't worry, it's not all planeswalkers, we're gonna put the thing in there.
Yeah.
They took over, and now it's basically just like, well, there's going to be Star Trek coming out. We want to make sure that's Ascension Prize can be your commander, and we don't like this text anymore. Can be your commander, I guess. So we're just going to get rid of it, and we're going to swap it over to vehicles. And there wasn't that much pushback because, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really affect a lot of people's deck building, right? Like there's only a handful of vehicles.
Ignore the vehicles,
but it does allow you to do more.
It does allow you to do more. Same thing
But
with
so
the
would
hybrid
allowing
rules.
hybrid, it allows you to play more cards in decks.
Which is also just the argument that I don't like. Like that. So when I did the video, I had a bunch of things that I talked about. One thing I didn't mention, that's why I wanted to mention it over here, is like I just like the color identity rules of Commander, and I like it from a brewing aesthetic, direction. Like I like the fact that if I pick a mono white commander, I'm only restricted to white and colorless cards. I think that's a really unique challenge, and I also like it from aesthetic perspective. Like if I pick a mono black commander, I like the fact that all the cards are either colorless or black, and I don't have like a red card in there. I think it fits very well to me, and the reasoning for that I've been hearing, at least from Wizards of the Coast, is like, oh, these cards were designed for being either or, like or, but not and, right? They're not green white. They're not green and white. They're supposed to be for green or white. But like that only works for other formats. Like the Commander has a very specific rule, the color identity rule, that kind of brushes off against it. And just because something's designed for it doesn't mean it's going to be working the way they want it to be working in every single format. And I think that's totally fine. Like they didn't come up with Commander. They didn't come up with the color identity rule. So I don't see a good justification to actually change it. And yeah, I do think that once you make changes to the color identity rule, everything is arbitrary, right? Like we draw the line on everything. I personally draw the line on like I don't want green cards in my white decks. I think like that's a cool thing that's unique to Commander that I quite enjoy. But like it's arbitrary, and some people their line is like I will allow hybrid, but I won't allow Phyrexian mana because Phyrexian mana, those are more color pie breaks, like that doesn't really work for me. But like Wizards of the Coast could down the line just say like, actually, we have a new set is going to have Phyrexian mana coming back because we know it's going to sell well, and we want it to work better in Commander 2. They could do that. That's why I mentioned that in the video.
No, that is true. They
and
could.
like it's always
nobody
wherever the
forces
line
you.
is. And yeah, you could just go multicolor. Like if I really wanted to play hybrid cards and I didn't like the restrictions of monocolor commanders, I could just go multicolor. And I feel like that's often like glossed over when these arguments for like, I wish I had Reese in my elf deck. It's like, well, good news, you could put Reese in your elf deck. There's not just mono green elf commanders out there. There's Selesnya. I mean, Reese is a Selesnya commander himself. You could go Naya with what's a face the wolf guy or whatever, or you could come up with other versions of it too that can also run the cards that you like. And I think the fact that there are the options already is very important in Commander. But for people who like the restrictions, the other options are there too. And so just like, I don't know, like I really need to have this hybrid card in my deck. It's like, well, you could. If you wanted to, you don't need to upend the rules of the formats to accommodate it.
Depends. There's not every commander has it. Like an elf commander, yeah, but not every commander has a there's no multicolor Urza or something.
There is a multicolor Urza. There's an Esper.
Like if you say, okay, I guess maybe bad example, whatever.
I know what you're saying.
I really agree with the aesthetics. Because, like, I play a General Pharaoh's Rockrig deck, and I like that it's gold and red.
I got a comment on that.
And Manamorphose would probably be very good in this, and probably other spells. And I'm probably not going to put them in there if they do this. But nobody forces me to do this.
I got a comment where somebody was like, when this rule goes through, and I think it is going to go through. I think it was a formality.
Yeah.
Because it's
a Tomer poll. It's the classic, like you do the poll and then you pick the one you wanted anyway.
Yes, yes, it is a Tomer. But it's okay. So the reason why I think this is actually happening, again, I'm very cynical. I think the reason for the hybrid change from the Wizards' perspective is that it's the timing of it. The commander change is happening, they said, I believe, end of January, early February. It's the exact same time that the new Lorwyn set comes out. The previous Lorwyn blocks, I want to say Shadowmoor at least, had a Hybrids Matter theme. Mm-hmm. And we know that hybrids are coming back to Lorwyn. We don't know how many cards are going to be there. There was like 2 Evoke Elementals
we saw the elemental
shown.
Thing.
Yeah, those don't work as like pure hybrid because they had like color symbols, I think, in the thing. But there was another one. There's like
a figure of
Destiny
and Selesnya. Figure.
I'm sure there's
going
to be some amount of them. So it was a perfect timing them for them to change the rules. And I feel like this is kind of like setting up for the future. Instead of making like must-have staples like the Soul Stone that's only good in black, it's like a very, very strong card, very desirable in black. We're gonna just have a deluge of hybrid cards that now they're staples for multiple colors at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? So that's where I feel is the motivation. Not to say that like we should see what the actual result, like is this a net positive or not, regardless of the motivation. But that's where I'm coming from in terms of like WotC motivation. And then like what is the actual effect of the game? Okay, you got a couple more hybrid cards in your decks that you otherwise couldn't play in some commanders. You could play them if you went multicolor, but if you refuse to change your commander choice or whatever, you got a couple more hybrid cards. It's only a handful of them. Do we need this? Is this going to make the decks much better? Does it help the fact that we're changing a fundamental pillar of the formats? We're adding green cards into white decks and stuff like that. Is it all worth it for a handful of cards? I would argue no. And it just opens the doors to WotC pushing super hard hybrid cards, which they're going to do. They're going to do that.
Like example, Seth, you're right that this now, like we talked about with vehicles getting unbanned, right? Or being allowed to be your commander. Yes, you technically get to do more with mono green adding like a white card in there. But this is not a more in a way that I think positively or like will actually influence the game. in any way, shape, or form. It's not negatively either, so it's doing nothing, right?
So not
it
enough upside for it to be worth it, basically.
It
Exactly.
just
Whereas
gets us
the
play
future,
Flotsam, Jetsam, and all our blue decks. That's
Yeah.
the main goal here.
and the
I
future of
mean,
like being able to
feed
play
artists.
like I don't know the Enterprise as my commander or something, right? Like the future of that has more upside, right? Like of being able to play a vehicle, a car, or something like that. That makes sense. I mean, I'm hoping they would do a planeswalker, but yeah, like you know what I mean? Like I that's the way I see it, at least.
So, I mean, I think that's a fair point. Like, I agree 100% that the rule change would have a relatively minimal impact right now. Most of the current hybrid cards are not that good. It's not going to have some huge shakeup. You might see some here or there. I don't know if I completely buy the like aesthetic argument. Just like,
Sure.
do y'all play off-color fetch lands? Do you avoid cards that make a token that's outside of the colors of your deck because it looks weird to have a red token produced in your mono blue deck?
Yeah,
Because it's
fair.
like so I think like everyone's gonna have a different level of what they accept on that, and like some people are gonna be like, I won't play off-color fetch lands because it looks weird, and some people are gonna be like, hybrid's fine for me because I really don't care. So I think it's all gonna be on some sort of scale there. I
don't agree with aesthetic. So I agree with that, like with you, Seth, and that I think that gets, twist and turned real easily. It's very subjective on that one.
That's-
Which
Yeah.
Tomer you also mentioned is arbitrary.
It is, yeah.
The-
Tomer did mention that too.
The other thing is like, yeah, I think all of our preferences on Commander, and this is I'm talking also to the audience who are listening to this too. We're all going to have different lines that we want Commander to be and what we want most from Commander. For me, that line is that I don't want to see like green cards in like a mono white deck. That for me, I do not enjoy. I know a lot of people might, for example, say my line is hybrid. But I think it's also equally valid because, again, these are arbitrary restrictions. It's also equally valid to say, like, why do we need color identity rule whatsoever? Like, why don't we just have any commander and it could run any colors and then isn't that just superior? And I think a lot of people are going to say yes to that as well. I know a lot of us would say no, like we like the color identity rule, but we're quibbling about where that line is. But
Yeah.
remember, it is arbitrary. Like we could just say we can get rid of the color identity rule altogether. And I think that is also a totally valid argument. You could just say like, I just want to pick whatever commander in my that I want, and I want to run any cards I want in the 99. That's a perfectly valid argument too. It's equally valid as like whether or not you're adding hybrid. It's just figuring out where we want to draw that line. And for me, I think the line is very good where it is. I don't see much benefit moving it, and I see a lot of potential risk moving it. That's all.
I very much agree
So,
with
yeah,
that.
the
I think for
future of it.
me, the line is across the hybrid. I would allow hybrid, but at the same time, I also think that color identity is a good thing for the front. I don't think the original color identity rule was perfect, but I think that color identity as a concept is actually very important for Commander and it improves the format. But I got
And
one more
gameplay.
question for all of you before we wrap this up. So Tomer said earlier he thinks Wizards is just probably going to do this change and is gathering feedback and already has made up their minds what they're going to do. I actually think that that's probably likely just with the timing of it and all that. But I've also seen in Tomer's video, other videos I've watched, even just me saying that I support the change on social media, it seems like the overall, I would say, mood of the community is against the hybrid change. I think if you just go through the comments, go through social media posts, more people than not seem to be against it. Do you think this is going to be like a big kerfuffle if Wizards actually is gonna do this rule? The feedback from the community is no, we don't really want it, and then they're like, oh yeah, I don't know, we're gonna do it anyway. Like, is this gonna be like a big dramatic thing where people are super upset, or is this not gonna be a big deal regardless of what happens in the end?
This
not
is
gonna
one of
be a
those
big deal.
things where it's not gonna matter at the end when they
Yeah.
pull it. But like I do think the problem with this kind of, if they were going off solely the vibes of the community and like how they feel about it, my problem with
Being a
that
Ravnica.
approach
Hmm.
is that our complaint equity, I think, is at an all-time like low. Because like that's the problem, right? I don't know who is. We kind of talk about it on the other podcast, right, Seth? On average, most people do not like change-ups, just whatever it is. Now, if that was true and we stuck to no changes, we'd still have really bad rules and things in place and whatnot. So I'm all for whatever changes if it makes the gameplay better and if it does something to the game in a positive note.
Mhm.
And some people could argue that, like, oh, well, then why did errataing everything under a sea creature or a kraken or these types under this type? That actually is a positive for the gameplay. Does this actually do anything? And I think that because it doesn't, I think it'll have no effect. It won't matter. I don't think they're good. I hope they don't do it, but when they inevitably do it, I think nothing will happen.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's going to be low impact initially. I do not like the implications of
But
it.
long term,
I am worried about the
get off the
future.
Long term not
rails.
having. Yeah.
Yeah, I am very worried about the future.
I just have been burned a lot, you know. Like I know they also like I know their wording on the commander bracket thing was like, you know, like hybrid cards are often weaker than monocolor, but they use the word often very particularly. Even in the live stream, Gavin was like very particular. Often. And also like Mark Rosewater when he was talked about it too, he's like, you know, they're often. And like I just remember like I'm old enough to know the mythic rarity, how that was introduced. And how they're like, oh yeah, this is mostly for limited, and it's so we can have complex cards that show up. Look, Obsidian Fireheart. We could not do this at a rare. That would be crazy. And then literally the same set, they do Lord Discover, and they're like, actually, studies have shown that we could just make more money if we make more push things at mythic rarity. So oops, we changed our mind. And then this is like also like with the UB2, it's like, you know, people didn't like the Walking Dead, you know, maybe it didn't fit Magic as well. We're gonna fit more Magic. And then it was like a year later, it's like, oh, we're Fortnite Secret Lair. It's like I know where these things go. I know where these things go. I have very low expectations of what Wizards does now. If it's for money, they'll go for it, right?
It's so funny to me because I feel like normally I'm like the cynical one when it comes to anything like this, and I'm the one that's always like, it's all Wizards. I just tried to make money, and in this case, I'm the one that's like, yeah, make hybrid cards work. I don't care. I think it'd be kind of fun, and it's the rest of you that are like, But I think you are right. That is a concern
that you are so down for it, Seth.
But it's
actually that's blindsiding me.
In my defense, I was arguing with Sheldon about this in like 2016 about how they need to freeze. I've been doing this for a decade now. But it's also I can see how it could be contradictory with the Feed the Swarm stuff.
I think for me, it's also very tempting. It's like when I think Modern Horizons 3, I feel like it was like a disaster for Magic, but a lot of people enjoyed it because it had a lot of powerful cards. And then I also think about like the One Ring. I would say the One Ring is a very net negative for the game as a whole.
Yep.
I think it was a very bad design. However, a lot of people like it because it's a very powerful card. A lot of people still run it in all their commander decks, you know. Maybe a full season of the One Ring.
It's house banned
in
now.
every single deck.
Now.
Yeah, we had to pry it out of your hands. So it's like sometimes I feel like some bad stuff, you know, it might be like tempting a little bit. Oh, don't people like more options? Isn't that great? And I would say like I think the restrictions on Commander are what make it so appealing as a brewer, as a player. Like the fact that it's 100 cards singleton. It doesn't have to be singleton. It doesn't have to be 100 cards. We could make it more consistent by making it 60 cards. Maybe we make it 4 copies of each one. Maybe make it 3, whatever. Color identity rule. We don't need it. We could just get rid of it and we could still play the game. It's fine.
No,
I like it.
That's
I like
bad.
the restriction.
That is bad.
No, but
don't
I like
even
the
put that into
right?
the ether, Tomer. Don't even put that out there.
It's equally valid as an argument. It's just that we all disagree that we all agree that we like the restriction. We're just quibbling about where it is, but we could get rid of it too. So I just feel like all these restrictions are actually what make the format good. And I don't want to get the hybrid added. I don't want to loosen those restrictions. I feel like they're very good where they are.
I agree with
feel
Tomer.
like Watsy's going to do it anyway, but whatever.
I agree fully with Tomer. I hope we do not loosen up on those restrictions because already Mana's so good that like it's so easy to get all the colors you want. Like 5 color, not a problem anymore, right? But I am so curious. Like, please do not remove the color pie has to matter forever.
They can't do this. No, that won't happen. And I don't even think it's going to be a slippery slope thing. I think the Phyrexian argument makes so much sense that if they do this and there's going to be a new Phyrexian mana set, which honestly sounds pretty unlikely.
I don't think they're going to do it.
They would probably also say, well, we did this and technically it's designed for blah, blah, blah.
I could see that.
The only thing I don't know. I don't think anybody will care. Like maybe people care, but I don't think anybody will be slightly as outraged about this as they are, or even Crit Magic as they did for New York related sets. I'm just a little worried, and that might just be our companions. Like we rarely even see companions because in Commander they give this extra restriction of having to fit the mana color identity perfectly. Like if you want to play Lurrus, you can only play it in Abzan and stuff. Now you can play like banned Lurrus. That seems way easier. For example, like, I don't know. Is that? I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
You could go like
It's
mono
okay.
black Lurrus, and now you're Enchantress. And because black's very good at recurring from the graveyard, and then you're playing like a
yeah. You can.
These are great, like as like one shot things. Like I think these are like a gold mine for Commander Clash episodes. But at the same time, it's not something I want from the game itself. I don't want it to be the norm. Somebody in the comment section said like, "Oh, once I go through I'm gonna make you a General Ferris Rockerick deck, and every single card is gonna be a hybrid card, but none of them will be Boros. So it'll be like,
Oh, no.
there'll be Gruul
That sounds so
cards,
cool.
It'll be as
My
well.
poor
It's very
golden
cool as a
deck.
concept, but it's like this is not what I want Commander to be. Like I want this for like a Clash video, but like, is this really the future? It's sad.
Mm.
Whatever.
Well,
maybe laugh and cry.
yeah. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you all think. Wizards asked for feedback, not just from us doing this podcast, from the whole
There you go,
community
Gavin.
about all this stuff. So let them know what you think about these questions. Rhystic Study, Thassa's Oracle, hybrid, adding more brackets, any of the other changes. But I think that brings us to the end of our cast for today. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and we'll come back next week to do it all again. So until then, have a great week, and this is a crew signing out.